Let's take a few minutes and talk about image and file types for teaching and learning, so you always know what format you need to use when. There are a lot of different image types that you've likely heard of, and we often refer to images by their file type, such as TIFF, RAW, JPEG, GIF, PNG, PSD, and so forth. An easy way to think of these is to place them in one of three buckets: camera capture formats, working asset formats, and compressed asset formats. Camera capture formats are simply the files that are saved by your camera. These will typically be in a RAW format or a TIFF or a JPEG file. RAW is a generic term that means a file format that captures the actual raw data coming off of your camera's sensor. Now, raw images retain the maximum amount of information captured by your camera's sensor. The files are often significantly larger than any of the other captured formats. The file extension will vary greatly depending on the type of camera that you have. Many cameras and smartphone apps have a setting for RAW, and provided you have enough storage space available on your camera or phone, this is an excellent format to take your pictures in. Photoshop has a dedicated tool called Camera Raw that lets you process raw images in a way that is far more flexible than any other image types. Now, TIFF, which stands for Tagged Image File Format, is an uncompressed image format, and often, if your camera doesn't have a RAW format available, TIFF images are the highest quality images that you may be able to capture. A JPEG, which stands for Joint Photographic Experts Group, are the most common types of images that digital cameras and smartphones will capture in. JPEG is a compressed image type, which typically results in smaller files than RAW or TIFF files. Now, the advantage to shooting in JPEG is that your images can be instantly used in many programs as they come directly out of the camera, and their smaller file size means that you can fit far more JPEG images on your memory card than their uncompressed counterparts. Now, the disadvantage is that as soon as you save your images as a JPEG in your camera, you're starting off in step one by throwing away some of the data that your camera is capable of capturing. For the vast majority of the images used in teaching and learning, this is not really an issue. Therefore, as a general rule of thumb, if you have the storage space available on your device, shoot in whatever your camera's version of RAW happens to be, since it's the most flexible file format, but it does require some post-processing. Otherwise, shooting in JPEG format will be just fine. The next bucket is your working file types. These are the images that you're making changes to inside of Photoshop. Now, Photoshop can open and work with just about every image type that you can find, but its native Photoshop file type, or PSD, is going to give you the most flexibility when working with your images. So I'd suggest getting in the habit of opening your capture images in whatever file type that they happen to be in, and then immediately saving a copy of them in the PSD format by going to File, Save As, and making sure Photoshop PSD is selected. PSD files can retain all of the information that you have stored on different layers, specific settings that you've adjusted, and many more things that you may be manipulating about your images. Therefore, PSD files can get to be quite large, but they're extremely flexible. The last bucket is the compressed image types. These are the final images that you'll use inside of your teaching and learning materials. Again, there are many types out there, but the three most common that you'll use will be JPEGs, PNGs, and GIFs. Now, we've already talked about JPEG images, and on this end of your workflow, JPEG is often an ideal image type to save your finished photos in. Every LMS, website, and program that you can find will accept a JPEG image. A GIF, which stands for Graphic Interchange Format, is another way images can be compressed, and it works really well for images that have a limited number of colors, such as web navigation elements. GIF is also a better choice of an image format if you need some of the pixels in your image to be transparent. Now, the other unique property of GIF images, and the one that has seen them see a resurgence in popularity in recent years, is that they can also be used to make simple animations with in a single image. and we'll look at how to create an animated GIF in a later movie. A PNG, or portable network graphics files, often pronounced as PNGs, are a kind of hybrid between GIFs and JPEGs. They're also a great choice for photographs like JPEGs, and they can have transparency like GIFs, although you can't embed an animation inside of a PNG file. PNG files are a great intermediary working file type for, say, making major changes to a PSD document in Photoshop and then exporting that image out to a PNG before importing it into a presentation tool like PowerPoint or Keynote. It's often a fine file type to use on web pages. Now, in later movies, we'll look at how to export your images out of Photoshop into multiple file formats so you can evaluate which image type is going to work best for your specific needs.